Oh, it's one of the big stories for today. It's the 8 members of that Blue Light Brigade. They're going to be appearing in court. It's all going to be taking place later this morning. Now, the accused were part of Deputy President Paul Mashatele's VIP protection team as well. Remember, they were caught on camera allegedly assaulting those 3 people on the N1 a few weeks ago. It is their first appearance in court today as well to face those charges. Let's get the views then of Action Society. It's Ian Cameron joining us from Cape Town this morning. Hello to you, Ian. Good to have you with us. Just talk to me first of all about what you think should be happening in court today. I'd like to get your thoughts later on about whether we actually need blue light brigades, but let's start with what you're hoping to see in court.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Yeah, so I think, look, we obviously welcome the fact that they have been charged. They spent the night in the cells, or so we are told. They arrived there yesterday afternoon at about 3 o'clock. And we've heard, or some journalists say they've been charged with common assault. Others say, IPID say they've been charged with assault with the intent to commit grievous bodily harm, as well as pointing of firearms, and then as well malicious damage to property. So we're really hoping that the more serious charges get the relevant attention. And we've already asked that they do not get bail should they bring a bail application in their second appearance.
So when you start looking at the sort of anger from society as a whole on this, it is starting to beg the question about the abuse that many people have been talking about with these blue light brigades. Many people coming out. I had Lisa calling in earlier. It was Lisa from Sandton saying it's blue light bullies. That's the view of many people in our country about these protection units. Ian, do you think they're necessary?
So we've actually started calling them the blue light mafia because they've kind of become a law unto their own, you know. Look, there are certain leaders that do need some kind of protection. We know that. We know there are certain risks to doing certain jobs. But I think in South Africa in general, there's a bit of an overkill. And I'm not sure that some of the protection is done according to the relevant threat assessments that need to be done to determine the level of protection that some of these politicians enjoy. I also think with regards to the South African context that citizens feel angry about these blue light protectors, guarding certain politicians while they have no protection themselves. You know, 1 out of 3 police vehicles in the country are broken, but at the same time, politicians budget over 8 billion rand a year for VIP protection. So, it begs to the question whether they really should have that level of protection while normal and ordinary citizens on ground level face the violent onslaught on a daily basis.
So if you, excuse me, got a bit of a cold coming on, Ian. So when you say some people do, are you able to maybe give me a ranking? Are we talking president and deputy president?
Well, let's talk about the deputy president and the president. Usually they have a minimum of around 7 vehicles that are part of their convoys, bless you. And sometimes they've got, even more, sometimes a little less. But, let's talk about someone like Overkill. The last time he attended a so-called Imbizo in the Western Cape, he arrived there with at least 9 vehicles part of his convoy, including several more specialized units of the South African Police Service, from flying squad to tactical response teams to the K9 unit to a provincial task team, and the list goes on. He marks out about 18 parking spaces for his motorcade. So that cannot be justified, especially in the community where the Imbizo is happening, where they face a minimum of 3 or 4 murders per day. And they don't, they get told that there aren't vehicles or aren't enough officers. But then these politicians drive in there with an incredible convoy. It's become a bit of a show. It's almost like it feels like a social status thing instead of really being there for protection. And I must be honest, when I look at these officers that made them guilty of this violent attack on the highway, I must wonder, what training do they really have? Are they actually qualified to be doing what they are doing? How did they get to that point? So it also doesn't look like it's the first time they've done this. They were so comfortable and nonchalant about it, and the way the police reacted was so nonchalant. It was just an unfortunate incident. It's a tragedy. It is a sign of a police state. We cannot allow that.
And so if today, again, we can't assume to know what the court is going to do when it comes to bail later this morning, Ian. Of course, the courts are independent in that. If bail were to be granted, what would you as Action Society then be doing?
So, look, from our side, we will be doing watching brief on this specific case. We've got the mandate from some of the victims to represent them, not only in terms of the criminal matters, but also civil proceedings afterwards. So whatever we can do to put pressure for bail to be denied, we will do. Obviously, we don't have full control of that, but we will condemn it in the strongest way, and then we will continue with any other civil process that we have as a possible remedy. I think it's just important that we don't go silent about this. I think the media has done a great job about keeping this in the mainstream for the last few weeks, and it's crucial that we highlight this. An example needs to be made from these cops. They shouldn't be seen as normal civilians because they got special treatment, and I think an example needs to be made. We cannot allow this to be the norm in South Africa.
There was quite an issue at the time as well, just after that video had surfaced. I think everyone's seen that video by now. It's obviously filmed by somebody inside a private vehicle driving up the highway behind the incident. There was even a call at one stage for that video to stop being circulated as well. If it wasn't for social media, we would never have known this actually happened. Yes, we may have heard about the report, but we would never have known the severity of this as well. I mean, civil journalism as far as civil society is concerned, very, very important as well, Ian.
Yeah, I think civil society plays a massive role. Obviously, the media helps to really highlight it and get it out there. But if it weren't for citizens that went and filmed it and made sure that the video started being distributed, then I don't think it would have gotten the attention that it deserves. You know, I'm shocked to see that some of the politicians speaking of it as just being unfortunate when it is an absolute tragedy. It should never happen. It should never be allowed. And I can make so many more examples. The point is that this isn't the first time. This is the reputation that blue light brigades in South Africa have. It is the reputation that they have built for over 15 years. And it hasn't changed since. We've had so many cases. I mean, I think of Thomas Ferreira, who's got brain damage, permanent brain damage from one of these motorcades, and nothing happened. There were no consequences for the guys that did that. And I hope that this time that might change. But whether it does or not, I think it's crucial that civil society must never, ever be silenced. We must speak out, we must point it out, and we must expose any injustice like this or otherwise.
Just very briefly, as I say goodbye, Ian, do you think they should be allowed back on the job, whether they're granted bail or not?
No, I think their contracts need to be ended. I think they need to be fired. And I think for the suspension period, it should be done without pay.
Oh, Ian Cameron from Action Society, thanks very much for your time in joining us this morning. So that court case coming up a little bit later.